I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnn. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. New beauty is in bloom at Walmart, and it's all about springtime radiance. From Drybar, Tula Skincare, and hundreds more available online, Walmart has the premium brands you want and this season's on-trend products for flawless, glossy hair and hydrated skin. Big name beauty brands? Check. The things you love? Check. Find trending spring beauty and all you need to look and feel gorgeous at Walmart, on app and online.
Hi, and welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I'm the founder of the Food Truck Training Group on Facebook, co-owner with my beautiful wife, Melissa, of our own food truck. It's called Food Truck 101, and I'm the executive director of the National Street Food Vendors Association, which is a nonprofit dedicated to education, advocacy, and uplifting all food vendors. Today, we're going to talk about cleaning that griddle. And I know I've discussed this before because I was looking through my past podcasts, and we've had some areas in those podcasts where we've talked about cleaning your griddle. We talked about seasoning. So we're going to go over that again one more time today. Because somebody in our Facebook group posted a picture of an abused griddle and asked, how do I get this thing clean? Because they had bought it at a good deal, but it had burnt black carbon on it and had obviously been abused. That's why it was sold at a really cheap price. And most people talked about different ways of cleaning it. And everybody's got their own little cocktail of, hey, you use lemon juice and pickle juice and Sprite, and it comes clean. And they've got all the other kind of concoctions. So I'm going to go through it step by step, how to, number one, recover an abused one, make your life easy, and then how to make sure that you don't abuse your own equipment, because a stainless steel professional commercial griddle should not have black seasoning on it. That's for cast iron. And don't tell me I worked in a restaurant, because I worked for Aurora. And let's start. I work for Rack's Restaurants, Wendy's, Hardee's, Shoney's, Burger King, Whataburger, McDonald's, and all of those had a grill or griddle as their main part of service. Now, at Rack's Restaurants, we sold roast beef, but we did sell burgers for roughly a year or two, which meant we brought in a grill into the restaurant. So, having a grill is something I've dealt with the last 40-some years. I know what they should look like. I know what they should look like when you work in an old restaurant. I know what they should look like when you work in a brand spanking new restaurant. And guess what? There is no visual difference. The closest description would be it goes from a super shiny silver when it's brand new to a little bit of a dull gray. But there is no black, there is no brown, there is no buildup on a commercial, properly maintained griddle. So you can say, well, you don't know what you're talking about, because this restaurant I worked at, it burned black and nothing stuck to it. Now, here's the difference. Whatever restaurant you worked at, my question is, has it been around since the 40s? Has it been around since the 50s? How about the 60s even? Because a restaurant that started in the 60s is going on, how old? Can we do the math? It's going on 60 years old. And you would think during all of that time, being a 60, 70, and 80-year-old company, they would decide that we could save some labor by just letting our griddles and grills build up this black caramelization, and we'll call it seasoning. So if all these companies that have been doing this for decades don't allow black buildup on their equipment, don't you reckon you might want to follow suit? So here's how you clean that abused grill. You go out and buy one that somebody has abused. Or maybe you're just now learning that, we shouldn't abuse our equipment. So if yours has black buildup, it's called carbon. Carbon's an insulator, which means you are burning more propane than you need to maintain the same temperature as if it was clean. So just for that alone, you should want to keep the thing clean. Don't burn so much propane. But here's a couple more reasons why you want to keep it clean. Carbon will flake off. Carbon would then become a physical contaminant to your food. When it flakes off, even if it's in minute, invisible, almost invisible specks, it is bitter tasting. So now your food doesn't taste like it should. And it also took longer to cook because you insulated the stuff. Or you're cheating the cooking process and it's going out not as well cooked as it should be because you're doing it straight off a time rather than actually the cooking process, because again, carbon is an insulator. You are using a cooler grill than you think you are. So how do you clean that burnt black grill? The easiest thing, and this is not one of those, oh my God, I can't believe you're suggesting it. There are many companies out there that make a solvent that will take away that carbon, and it takes it away fairly efficiently. 3M Company, for example, makes one. McDonald's uses this every single day. And what it does is you heat the grill to about 250, 280, somewhere in there, and you pour this chemical on there. It comes in a packet. You can't screw it up because one packet will clean one grill. You pour it on there. It's got a squeegee to where you squeegee it around and it dissolves that caramelization, that black buildup that people call seasoning. And then you squeegee it off, and you may have to scrub a couple little places with a grill screen, but it is not difficult. They can clean a very busy McDonald's griddle in just a few minutes, and it's clean back to brand spanking new. The chemical is food safe, otherwise McDonald's couldn't possibly use it. It doesn't leave a flavor or a taste on the griddle, unlike some fry powders that people will use, which is a chemical, and we're going to put food inside of that chemical. So you notice that there was nothing about using vinegar or pickle juice or Sprite or any other homemade remedy to make your life easy. Put the chemical on and clean the thing. Now, once you've got it clean, or maybe you've bought a brand new one and the thing is not dirty yet, here's how you maintain it without having to use any chemical at all. Very first day when you open, getting ready to open, you want to turn on the griddle to about, again, 250, 280. You're going to get a oil that has a high smoke point. And what you're going to do with that oil is put a little bit on the grill, and I want to say, again, a little bit. You're going to take a cloth or a paper towel and basically make sure that you have spread that oil over the entire surface. And then you're going to turn up the temperature to where you create a smoking of that oil. So you smoke the oil. What that does is it creates a real thin barrier between the bare metal and the food. Now again, listen to me. It's creating a thin barrier, but it's super thin, paper thin. So we're not building up seasoning. It's a super thin layer, and then you cook on it. As soon as you are finished cooking the meat, whether it be a run of hamburgers, a run of bacon, a run of sausage, or some other meat that you're cooking, a run of chicken, you're going to use a grill scraper now. The grill scraper is a handle with an attached blade that you can replace, and then that scrapes up all the meat. It is used for grills. It's called a grill scraper. You got to learn how to use it so you don't gouge the metal, but you use that grill scraper. Scrape it off. Pull down the debris into the little drainage chute, and into the little drainage pan it goes. Then you can, if it's slow enough, you can water clean your grill. And what that means is you take 2 to 3 ounces of water, put it on the grill. Now remember, you've already scraped all the debris off of it, so there shouldn't be any grease on it, because if you put grease and water together, what's going to happen? The water is going to immediately turn to steam and pop that grease all over you, and it's going to burn. So again, scrape it down, no grease on it. Pour a couple of ounces of water on it, and then clean it with a grill brick, a grill stone, a grill screen, and a handle. And guess what? It's back to clean. You may need to re-oil it again just for a few seconds, and then you're good to go. At the end of the day, you're going to do exactly what I just said again. You're going to scrape all the food off with that scraper, the grill scraper. Then you're going to take a few ounces of water, not vinegar, not an acid, not Sprite, not pickle juice, not all the other homemade remedies people come up with to clean. You're going to put a little bit of water on it, and then use that grill stone, that grill brick, that grill screen with a handle, scrub in one direction, which should be front to back, back to front. And do that all the way across, and you clean the splash guards, wipe down everything else where there's been some spills, and you're good to go. At the end of the night, that griddle should be a bare metal silver. Now, if you want to make your life easy for in the morning, take just a little teeny tiny bit of oil, a couple of ounces, again, paper towel, go all the way across it. So now you put a real thin barrier of oil, and it won't rust overnight. It won't have that surface oxidation that people goes, oh my God, it rusted. And you're good to go. Next morning, all you got to do is, again, put it at 280, maybe 250, put some oil on it, get it spread all nice and even, then turn it up and smoke that oil. Now you have a little thin barrier to help prevent sticking. You do not let the thing turn brown to dark brown to black, because all you're doing is abusing your equipment and forcing yourself to burn more propane every single day to maintain the exact same temperature. That's how easy taking care of a griddle is. But if you get one that's been abused, or yours is currently abused, spend the money, get the 3M cleaner, or there's other brands out there as well, and use it. It's food safe. And don't fall into that hippy-dippy stuff of, don't want chemical in food. What do you think oil is? Chemical. What do you think your food's made of? Chemicals. If it's food safe, which means it's safe to be used around food, all you do is follow the instructions. I promise you can't taste it. Absolutely cannot taste any kind of chemical that you put on a griddle if it's properly handled according to the manufacturer's instructions. All you got to do, follow the instructions. So there's the tips. Every single day this thing has got to be clean. Should look like it just came out of the package. Again, it goes from the lustrous silver, just going to be a dull kind of gray, but it will be clean. There will be no brown, no tan, no dark brown, no black buildup on it. Those things are signals to you that say, hey, Goofy, you're not cleaning this piece of equipment properly. You didn't buy a cast iron grill. Cast iron would need to have that black seasoning on it that Grandma always told you with her skillet. But you didn't buy a cast iron grill. You bought a stainless grill. Now here's one little word of caution. Most food truck owners are cheapskates. I'm a cheapskate. I will gladly admit it. I buy the least expensive equipment I can find that's going to function for what I need it to do. But that means I still have to modify how I take care of that piece of equipment. I want it to last for many, many years. So if you buy a grill, most people go for the cheapest one they can find. So they're buying a $200 or $300 or $400 or $500 griddle. The plate that's on that griddle is going to dictate whether you can use a lot of water when you clean it, should only use a little tiny bit of water, and certainly whether you should put ice on it or not. There will be goofy people out there that will tell you, yeah, I worked in a restaurant, we cleaned it with ice all the time. Well, the thing is, if they worked in a good restaurant, most likely the griddle plate that they had on that grill was probably an inch thick. So it could take abuse from dumb employees that would do things like throw ice on it. Most food truck owners don't spend the kind of money to get that really thick plate on their grill. They go for cheap. So it's going to have, in many cases, a half-inch thick plate on it, which automatically makes it prone to warping and cracking whenever you abuse it by making that quick change from hot to cold when you throw ice on it. So just because you worked at a restaurant that threw ice on it doesn't mean that you can throw ice on yours, because most likely you bought a cheap one. You work at a restaurant and they bought the high quality expensive stuff. They spent many thousands where you have spent a few hundreds. And the difference being not just the brand name, but the difference being the quality of the steel and the thickness of that grill plate. So if you go for cheap, and again, I'm cheap. If you go for cheap, you still got to take care of it. And it means you can't abuse it the way that a restaurant would that's bought the high-end equipment, because all you'll do is end up ruining your low-end equipment. And then it'll be one more expense, one more repair and maintenance bill you got to deal with, or sadly, it could be a replacement bill, to where you crack the thing to the point where it leaks grease all over your floor, or it has a big flare-up because the crack is directly above where it flames. So now you're dripping grease onto your propane burner. And then you wonder why there's a big flame there all the time. So learn your equipment, learn how to clean it properly, and then learn to clean it properly. And then make sure you stay in the habit of keeping it clean. So remember, that grill, that griddle, that flat top should never ever have a black sheen to it and call it seasoning. No professional kitchen has one that's burnt black. You're a professional kitchen, or at least you're pretending to be. So get it right. Get it clean. Thank you guys so much for listening to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. If you're finding what we do useful, please consider subscribing. And if you really love what we do, you can show some support. There's a link in the description to make that happen. Until next time, you guys have a profitable week.